Hello and welcome to a very exciting presentation. Hopefully this will be as inspiring as those videos that we keep watching. It's all about the music, I think. I wish I had some music. Now, recently I had a chance to work with Peter McKinnon to, I guess, make a fun promo video for the content-aware fill in After Effects. And so we just said, hey, what should we do? Let's do something fun, maybe part of his vlog. And so let me show you the video that we created.
Huh? Come on, look at this, look at this. See, I've loved making videos my entire life, back from making skateboard videos with my dad, right up to making videos on YouTube today. But there's a certain individual that I've followed his career, and the stuff that he does has inspired and changed the industry forever. This guy, his name is Andrew Kramer, and he runs a little company called Video Copilot. I'm in the belly of the beast today, guys. I'm bringing you with me. We're gonna see some crazy VFX and learn some new techniques you're gonna be doing by the end of this video. You're gonna be blowing your own mind. Ah, I said it. I wanna open that package. That's why I actually flew here, so we could unbox this new thing together. If you thought that was cool, that was like, ugh, come with me.
I fully thought that you probably opened it and didn't wait for me. I'm pumped.
I promise we didn't just retape it. You want to do the honors?
Please. Okay. Adobe really stepped up their packaging.
All right, you've heard of content-aware fill. With this, you just grab the remote and you're gonna point it at.
Yo! Oh,
Now, there are some warnings,
this is
instructions.
incredible. You could just like... Let's go outside. Oh yeah.
I wonder where all this stuff goes.
I don't know. I feel like we can make a difference with this.
Do something impactful.
Yeah, like, look, you see that nail?
We'll be heroes.
Let me get my camera.
I think we should maybe get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Look, I've got some gear here. I think we can destroy it, and that way nobody... you know.
Yeah, I'll destroy it. That's fine. It's gone forever.
If you don't mind, you know, I can do it here. I have the...
I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy. Pete, Andrew. There's the stop sign. That's interesting.
A lot of fun working with Pete, and you know, we just had a lot of fun making the video. You know, just to kind of talk a little bit about that process, because I think it started about 10 days ago. It was about 50 visual effect shots, We filmed it in about 1 day, 5 or 6 hours. And we just figured, how much of this can we do? We wanted to have a big stunt. We wanted to do some fun visual effects. But we didn't have a ton of time. So just for fun, I put together just, all right, you know, have a scene without all of the visual effects. Because one of the most important things when you do a lot of visual effects is you need to get the editing good. You need to feel like, OK, this is how long the shots are going to be. This is the moment we need looking up, and make sure the eye lines are right. And so here's a little bit of it without the visual effects.
I feel like we can make a difference with this.
Do something impactful.
Yeah, like, look, you see that nail?
We'll be heroes. Let me get my camera.
So, you know, one of the things is like when you're doing like a dramatic action scene, you want to like stretch out the moment, right? So it's like you look at it and you say, how can I make it feel longer without the continuity totally breaking and feeling like you're repeating the same moment? And so when you block out a scene like this editorially, even with really rough, you know, that was an earlier render, but even with rough graphics, you can start to figure out where the timing will be. And that way, when it came to render time, the whole scene is CG, and we only had a couple of days to render. So we needed to make sure that we were only rendering exactly the right amount of frames for that shot. And some of the shots are, you know, 25 frames long. We just see it for a moment, move on to the next part. So that was just a fun process of figuring that out. But one of my favorite visual effect shots was actually this box, right? So he pushes open this box, and obviously it's sort of this CG box, but we wanted to figure out how could we make it look as realistic as possible. So earlier that day, I think I found some styrofoam in like a box, like a you know, a crate or something like that. We took it out. The device is a card reader, and it just has some like gaff tape on it. And we didn't even have time to paint out the gaff tape. We just had to go. And you know, we cut it out, put like a remote button on it, try to make it look somewhat decent. And so then we're thinking, OK, we want to show it, because if we see it coming out of his hands, out of the box, it'll just feel more real, a little bit more fun. And so by putting a green screen behind his hand, it allowed us to be able to give the box a full circle all around it. So you can actually see the box shows up on the back frame here. And you can see element right here. That's what we're rendering. And we're just putting part of it in front and part of it in back, so his hand goes over it. Now, just to look at the scene really quick. We've got this Adobe box here. And it's very simple. And we've got some rotation that we've animated. Now, you can see the inside of the box is clear. And so inside of Element, there's a feature. So if we go to this plane that's sitting right inside of the box, and we go down to the material, we have what's called a matte shadow. Now, if I turn that off, you can see that it's just a plane that covers the hole. But the matte shadow feature basically allows you to punch a hole through your 3D, and you get this result where we're combining it now with live action footage. I think we even have Saber for the button push. Let's see. Seems like like a really expensive product box as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so you're just kind of play that back here. And you know, again, we filmed it locked off. We didn't want to do a 3D track. We didn't want to have to worry about some of the more trickier aspects, because if you do look at the final film, he sets it down on the table, and there's a few other places. So we wanted to say, all right, let's not let this get out of hand. So that's essentially how we created that. One thing to point out is we did shoot a clean plate with the background just so that we could put that in behind the green after we keyed it out. So I always like to show some cool, interesting techniques in After Effects. And so jumping into a whole different category, have you guys ever used the effect called time displacement? Anybody? This guy, he loves it. All right. Let's see here. Let me, open this project up really quick. This is actually a really, really cool effect. So recently, I created these graphics for this promo video. And we wanted to make something kind of fun and flashy. And again, we didn't have a ton of time, and we needed to be able to create many different versions of this. So for example, I could go in here and change the text. And I still have this great sort of dynamic animation. Now, you can see I don't have too many layers here. I think there's only 2 keyframes. 4 keyframes. I lied. Should we bail on this or keep going? All right, we'll keep going. But there's only a couple of keyframes for this is all going down. Here is how it's set up, though. So if we look at this project file, here is the source material for what's creating this glitch effect. Check it out. Not that interesting. All it is random pictures of random stuff. I think this is like lights from a car, lights from like a garage, maybe some glitch elements. And all I've done is randomly place them in here. And you can see other things like the text has a little bit of a texture on it. Maybe the text just has, you know, we're only seeing like a little bit of it with the red in the background. The idea is to create variation in between the frames. And then we use the time displacement effect to animate them on at different times. So I can kind of show you the idea. I've created this fractal noise effect using the cubic mode or the box mode. So let's see here. You see like blocky fractal noise. And if you think about time displacement, it's shifting the time through this texture. So the white area, the time is going faster. And the black area, it's going a little bit slower or lagging behind the final animation. Now, if we change this up, so let me just turn this off for a second. If we play around with the fractal noise, we actually change the sense of the design because we're shifting where the time moves around. Now, this is an animation that's moving left to right, but there's another kind of interesting example here. Let's see, glitch B. Yeah, here we go. So for this one, I was thinking about how do I create something that feels like it's moving inward. Now, what I can do is show you the map for this, which looks like this. OK, so right here you can kind of see like a cubic mosaic effect that's sort of moving in. I'm using the kaleidoscope, so it's just a gradient with the kaleidoscope effect and a mosaic to create sort of the blocking effect. Now, if we increase the blocks, make them maybe a little bit wider, you can see it has a little bit more of a stair-step pattern. But if it's smaller, you just get a little bit more detail. Now, if I turn this up a bit, so we can really see this. So you can see the animation is pulling inward. And again, I'm only editing this one texture. I'm only editing the luminance map, and I'm getting all of these different variations of that same graphic from the main source. So the time displacement, if you think about, OK, well, what if I create an animation, time displace it, and then put that into another comp and time displace that? You can just really create amazing variations of this effect, and it's really easy to do. So that is our time displacement. Moving on to another tip. This one's actually good. No, it's not. All right. Some of you guys know we made a plugin recently. Let me show you what that is. So you can make cool planets and kind of random stuff like that. And there's actually more than just planets. You can do some really cool abstract stuff as well. So let me show you. Let's see. We've got a couple of different examples here. Let's try this one. All right, so this is like kind of a crazy swirly effect, and sometimes making some abstract stuff is kind of fun. Now, the fun thing about this plugin is that you can use real texture glossiness. So does anybody know what physically based rendering is, PBR? It's basically a type of material that defines what the glossiness of something is. So like this mouse is very matte. It's not very shiny, but then there's a logo on it that is a little bit more shiny. So glossiness meaning more glossy, or diffuse meaning more matte. So the way that this is set up, so if I just create a new project here. Create a new layer, and I'm going to add the orb effect. And we'll add a camera and a light. OK, so inside of After Effects, I'm not exactly sure when this was introduced, but there's this effect called Immersive Video Effects, and it's basically for VR. And there's this one effect called Noise. So let's see, Fractal Noise. And it creates this sort of strange-looking effect. It kind of looks a little bit stretched on top. And the reason this is called an equirectangular. And if you load this into a spherical object, it actually wraps perfectly, and you create a noise texture that doesn't have any seams. So it's perfectly seamless. So what I can do is pre-compose this. And actually, before I do that, let's just lower the complexity a little bit. That's good. We'll pre-compose this, and we'll just call this noise. And there's another effect called Colorama. Love this effect. Let's see here. And what it allows you to do is remap the color value. So we can shift this over to, say, ramp gray. And if I move this white point down into the middle, we can create more like a lightning kind of energy effect. And then I can increase this cycle of these repetitions, and we really start to create. You guys are getting sleepy. That's a bad pun, and also a clear explanation of this presentation. No, but we're going to keep going. All right, so what I'm going to do is load that into the texture source for the orb effect. So we can load up some maps. We have a bump map here, and we'll load the noise. Now, under the UV, it's already set to spherical. So let's put this Colorama effect inside of the comp. There we go. And now we have a nice, crazy bump map effect. And then we can even take the Colorama effect a little bit further, and we can use that to colorize the inside of this sort of effect. And just to show you what that would look like, here's just an example of what I took those same effects. I made 3 copies of the noise, some with just some various details, some with like lighter areas here, and that actually creates like a warping effect. Any kind of a bump map is just a examination of the surface. So you're basically saying, okay, how much do I want it to come up and how much do I want it to go down? So layering it really helps to kind of bring it out. And I'll just touch on this really quickly. Another really fun thing to do is playing around with different types of surfaces. So I just created some fun things a few months ago. And the idea was, how do you recreate specific types of surfaces? So if you guys have seen like old cars and they have that nice kind of paint with the clear coat on it. So basically what that is a paint job with this sort of speckled paint. And then what they do is on top of that, they take a clear coat and they spray it on, and that makes it really smooth and really shiny, but then you can still see those glimmers of the sparkling effect. So I've basically recreated that using a couple of layers. So let's say the bump map is here. It's a glitter effect, just a more fractal noise with some different colors built into it, layered on top. And that creates this effect. And we can look at the glossiness, and we can play with the amount of bump. And so that's what it looks like by itself. But we turn up the bump, we start to create the speckled look. And then we turn the glossiness down to make it more diffused. And then we get that effect. Then we make a separate copy that doesn't really have any variation to it. It just has a little bit of, warp. Like the paint job wasn't very good. You had your friend do it. He said, no problem, I'll give you a good deal. It didn't turn out so good. All right. But what are you going to do? He's your friend, and then you don't call him anymore. All right. So anyway, that is clear coat. Always be thinking about what are the properties of a material, of a surface. Like even with that Adobe box, we wanted to have some different areas that were shiny and some matte areas. And I won't bring it up, but actually when he puts his finger over, there's like a reflection over the glossiness right before he touches down. So little details, right? All right. OK, now let's see one more fun thing. I don't have a lot of time left, but we have been working on a new plugin at Video Copilot. I'm wondering, do you guys want to see this new plugin? Do you guys really want to see it? Because I don't want to go over. All right. Oh, the time's up? No. All right, so this new plugin is called Nebula 3D. Let me show you what it does. So what I'm going to do is create a new layer, and I'm going to create a new camera, and let's make a new light. I'm going to make a spotlight. Looks good. Now, on this layer, I'm going to add the new effect called Nebula 3D. And right away, we get something that looks like this. And let's check this out. 3D volumetric lighting. So let me just reset this. Here we go. OK, so what can we do with this? Right? We want to be able to visualize our light. And right now, it's like, OK, it's not that impressive. What are we going to do? Maybe I could fake that with just some 2D layers. But what we've added is actual real noise. So we can add noise into the light. We can increase it. We can add turbulence. And it's all three-dimensional. Now, another really cool thing, let's see, we'll turn up the fall off of the light, is what about sort of like light rays? We want to have some light rays in the light. OK. Well, what I'll do is I'll just duplicate this light. Maybe just change the color. And let's say we want to add light rays to just the blue light. So what we've done is created a node-based light editor. So this works right inside the plugin. What we can do is we can see there's that spotlight. It's blue. That's our blue light. We can take this projection effect, drop it on here, and you can see it snaps to the node. And now when we look at the light, we've got some actual light rays. And we can play that back. And it's all three-dimensional, volumetric. We can even do things like turn up the intensity of a specific light, or just customize exactly what we have and what we want it to look like. Now, there's a lot you can do with volumetric light. And I have one example that I have set up here that will show it a little bit better. I think this is it. All right, so here I have this like scene of this like creature guy, right? And there's a couple of lights, Element 3D. And what I'm going to do is take this volumetric layer and add Nebula. So now if we pull back here, we can start to see that we have some volumetric lighting. So if we move in here, it looks pretty good. But it seems to be on top of everything. It's not intersecting. It's not interacting. So we have an option under occlusion where we can load up the element layer. And now we're actually getting proper occlusion with all of the depth. So if we look at just the source, he's excited. All right. Here's what the source looks like. And so if you know anything about trying to make a visual effect shot look good, you want to have depth. Sometimes you can add lighting to make it pop out, or sometimes you can put light behind it so that it has a bit of a silhouette. And so using just the native After Effects lights, you can move them around and really get some cool looks. You can even go into the light editor. And again, let's say that purple light, that pink light, we could add the projection effect. Maybe even add a, how about a flicker effect? And turn this up. Let's see. Crank that one up. And let's see what that looks like. So very exciting. I don't know. He's like at a nightclub or something. I don't know what's going on here. He's the last guy on the dance floor. All right, so this is volumetric lights. But wait, there's one more thing. I know I'm taking a long time, but I will be brief. All right, so let's do fast. All right, so we'll add the effect here, Nebula 3D. Now, the atmosphere fog is really cool, but we can also load real volume VDB files. So I can go click on Load File. We'll go over here to some VDBs here, and I have some clouds. And let's see, let's try this guy right here. And I'm going to turn the size down of the volume. And now we have some real volumetric cloud right here. Interactive. We can move the lights around. It's not pre-baked. All the shadows, everything is all being calculated. We can even do some cool things like play around with the density and modulate that. Let's see. Let me try to find a different volume, like a more round shape one. It's pretty good. Let's see here. One more time. Let's go to... All right, this is cool right here. So what I'll do actually now is I'm going to create a point light. So we'll just make a point light really quick. Make this orange. And let's put this into the middle of our scene. So I'll just turn off the fog for just a second. Take the light, and let's put it right into the middle of our volume. So now we're getting some really interesting results. And we didn't just stop there, right? We wanted to be able to control the volumes. You wanted to be able to modify them. You're in After Effects. You're in Comp. So we've added a lot of really cool things. So we've added a couple of things like object fields. So if we turn that on, we actually create a Boolean that chops the layer. And if I turn, say, the fall off of the lights, here, let's go to that point light, turn the fall off down of the lights, you can really do some fun stuff. Maybe even take that orange light, add a flicker. Which is really cool. And yeah, there's a few different shapes that are available there. Now, one other last thing I'll show you is it also works with After Effects layers. So I'm going to use my favorite effect called radio waves. And I'm just going to create, something crazy like that. That's pretty good. And we'll go to our layer field, and we'll load that up. So we'll load the texture. And so now if we look at this, and maybe I'll just add a little bit of blur on that. Let's see. We're modulating the volume data pretty much in real time. I don't know if it can go any faster, but we're going to try. And you can do this with text. You can do this with layers. You can do this with all sorts of really fun things. Now, I guess I wasn't going to show this, but hey, we're here. We're here. We do have a video of some of the things that you can create with it. And hey, let's check it out. So a lot of fun things going on. You know, I had a great time today. Thank you guys all for coming out, and we will see you next time.